Hi everyone, we are back again on SLFRS 15 or IFRS 15. Today in this video I am going to discuss contract modification. We discussed in my last video about how to activate a contract. That means how a contract can be in existence. Step number 1. So we saw all 5 criteria and we discussed if the criteria is not met or met, all the options we had discussed. Extended to that step 1, we had to consider the contract modifications also. What is a modification? The standard says a contract modification is a change in the scope or price or both of a contract that is approved, highlighted approved by the parties to the contract. So the contract must have been already approved. You have set everything. After that, there is a change in the scope or price. Scope means boundary. Boundary means if you have earlier the limit of goods and services have been extended, enhanced. So what happens? That is called a contract modification. Even a reduction in scope or price will be a contract modification. I will discuss that later. So increase or decrease anything to the scope or price. There is a change. Can be a contract modification. So this contract modification in several other jurisdictions, that means several other countries, is named in different way. It is mentioned as a change order or variation or an amendment to the contract. Various names have been given it, but according to the standard, it's a modification. So the modification occurs when the party to the contract approve a modification. Not only the earlier contract, the original contract must have been approved, and the contract modification also should be approved in the same way as the earlier contract. It can be in writing, it can be orally, or it can be implied in the business practices, customary business practices. So, this modification also should create either a new or changes in the existing enforceable rights and obligations. I discussed in my last video that a contract creates enforceable rights and obligations. So the modification should change that. And you have to collect all the facts and circumstances to evidence that. You have to be careful and you have to collect all your facts and circumstances to evidence that there is a change or new enforceable rights and obligations that have been created by this modification. Then modification can be approved in writing if there is a dispute. The standard says if there is a dispute in agreeing the scope or price, still you can consider the modification is active and you can estimate the standard, estimate the price if the modification is approved. The modification will be still in force. So you can still do it. So we will see, for an example, what will be the modification looks like. An entity have a contract with a customer to supply 1,000 laptops. For example, for discussion purposes, I have taken these prices. 1,000 laptops at $200 each in 10 months. That means over a period of time. So that means 100 laptops a month. They are supplying it at 200. This is a contract that has been approved, that 15.9 has been met and everything is okay. Now this is going on. After 1 or 2 months, after supplying for say after supplying about 600 laptops. After supplying about 600 laptops, the customer comes and says, now, I have got some new business. Oh, I am expanding my business. I will be needing more laptops. Give me 500 more in the same contract. So that becomes a contract modification. At that time, the customer comes and asks you, the price, the fair value, the market price has come down to 180. You have been contracted at 200. Now this has come down to 180, the standalone price. Standalone price means it's the market price, fair value. It has come down. But the customer comes and asks you, okay, the market price is 180. I have already contracted with you 1000 laptops at 200. So give me a discount. Give me at 150. So you have to negotiate with the customer what is the price. In these circumstances, how are we going to treat the recognition of revenue as per the standard? SLFRS 15 or IFRS 15. There are two paragraphs that we have to think about. So we will see that subsequently. Okay, coming back to the modification again. Now we will see, I quoted you an example, 1000 laptops had 200, that's the original contract, and he is asking for an additional 500. At the time the standalone selling price or fair value has come down to 180. If the customer is asking for a discount at price 150. So in these circumstances, how the accounting treatment will be according to the standard IFRS or SLFRS 15. There are two paras related to this, 1520 and 1521. So we will see how it will be treated. The standard says, the para 20 says, if the additional goods or services are distinct and the prices are standalone, and it gives you, there are two criteria. What it says is, scope of the contract increases. That means your scope should increase. There is a reduction, you can apply this. So scope of the contract increases because of the additional promised goods which are distinct. So we will discuss about what is a distinct goods in when we are discussing performance obligation. For the time being, distinct goods means separately identifiable as on its own, also in the context of the contract. It is separately identifiable. So if the goods and services are distinct and your scope should increase, that is criteria 1. Criteria 2, the price increases are reflecting the standalone selling prices. You can adjust for any savings in your selling prices or selling cost due to the contract with the same customer instead of going in for a new customer. If there is any savings, you can adjust that appropriately, the standard allows. So if these two criteria are met, then you can treat the new additional modification as a separate contract. That's what the standard says. But if otherwise, if these two conditions or two criteria are not met, you go to 21, para 21. Para 21 says, if the goods are distinct, still the price is not standalone, then treat the new modification as a new contract in place of the existing contract. Replace the existing contract up to which you have performed the obligation. You have satisfied the performance obligation. In this example, I told you that suppose they have supplied 600 up to now. 600 laptop up to now. So 600 laptops at 200, close the matter, terminate it. And the additional goods and services plus any unsatisfied performance obligations or goods and services to be supplied, the original contract, treat it as a new contract. That means replace the original contract. That is A. Then B, goods and services are not distinct. That means you can't separately identify the goods, services, performance obligations. In a construction contract, it happens. Because initially you contract to build a building, office building, and later there is a modification for the office design, building design. Everything changes. You can't distinguish it, the goods and services. Then the standard suggests you go to a retrospective basis. That means take the whole contract and assess what is the progress, assess the measure of progress and assess the new transaction price and adjust it accordingly. You adjust the revenue accordingly, retrospectively. In this case, if you are treating it as a separate contract, it is prospective. That means past is not adjusted. Past revenue, the cumulative revenue, what you have already recognized, is not adjusted. The subsequent one, you adjust it. That's what the standard says. So, there is another option. The C, there is another criteria on 21. If there is a combination of goods being distinct and not distinct, then you have to use your judgment. Whether there is any distinct goods, whether there is no distinct goods, you have to base your judgment based on the definition of distinct and not distinct and based on the performance obligation satisfaction, then you adjust it. And accordingly you adjust the revenue. That's what 20 and 21 says. Now we are coming back to this example. How we can treat it, we will say. Okay, if it is treated as a separate contract, that is 1000 laptops, 200 is one contract, and 500 laptops at 180 standalone. You have said no, I am not giving you any discount. I will give you the standalone selling price. Maximum you can do is you can adjust appropriately. If there is any savings, $2-3 savings or $5 savings, you can adjust. Maybe that 180 can come down to 178 or 175 or something like that. But for our example discussion purposes, we assume that it is the standalone selling prices that the contract modification has been approved. Then you can jolly well treat this as a separate contract. Original contract untouched. 1000 laptops you supply at 200 and receive 200,000 and recognize that as a revenue, no problem. And 500 at 180 recognize as $90,000, no problem, finish the matter over. So that's how you will treat it if it is a separate contract. Then the second option, if you are treating it as a 21, that is, if you are going to give him the discount, you have agreed, okay, the customer is a real pest, he is not allowing me, okay, I will give you, I agree, at $150. So how you will, the price is not standalone. Then you have to replace the contract. Treat the 600 as a separate contract. At 200 you have supplied, it's terminated, finished, all gone. So 600 into 200 you recognize a revenue of 120,000 and finish it off, close the matter. The balance performance obligations that has to be delivered, the goods and services has to be delivered is from the original contract 400 laptops you had to deliver. From the new contract you had to deliver 500. Treat it as a new contract. So 400 at 200, 80,000. 500 at 150, 75,000. So you are selling 900 for 155,000. Your selling price will be 172.22. It is an average weighted average price. That's how you treat it. So I hope I have explained contract modification in a clear form. So if there is anything, you can always contact me or give your comments. And if you like this video, please subscribe. So more videos you can easily see. Give your comments. And we will meet again in our next video. We will move on to step 2, performance obligations. Identify the performance obligations. Until then, take care. Good luck.